Paul from High Tech Legion, CES 2015. We're here at the Thermaltake suite. We're with Shannon Robb. He's going to show us some of the newest innovations that Thermaltake has to offer this year. Shannon, go ahead and give us a tour.
Well, first of all, we have the new Core X series of chassis. The Core X9, Core X2, and Core X1. These are full-size ATX, micro ATX, and mini ITX. Now you can see these are large cube-style chassis, so basically you have tons of room to build inside. Now the really cool part about these is we built them so that you can make them your own. Basically, when we say like your build, our core, we're not joking. We want to give you the core of your system, something you can take and truly make yours. And with the X series, the limit to these is your imagination. As far as you want to go, you can stack them like you see here. Paul moves out of the way. you can screw them together, and so these things become like a large functional unit. And you can make the top a large water box, like you can see through the window over here. It's basically full liquid cooling just for the lower system. You could build the top as a whole separate system. You could have full tiered systems. You could have basically, like I said, your imagination is the limit, because you can pull everything out of this, have it a complete empty shell, build it up from there. Through the top, all the radiator mounting, up to 480mm radiators and even larger, you can take and you can lift the bracket out, install the radiators and everything, drop it in without issue. So what happens is it allows you to build it even easier than you usually would, where you have to hold the radiator up, screw it down, Paul, like you've seen. You have to hold the radiator up, fit the fan, screw it down. This one, you can pull the bracket, lift everything out, install your cooling, drop it all in. You can install your motherboard, drop the motherboard tray in, and then just screw it down. Everything's super easy to work with. Okay. Even if you ripped all the drive trays out of this, you still have a drive tray built into the back of the motherboard where the CPU cutout is. It can be removed as well, but you can install 2 SSDs and a large multi-terabyte 3.5 drive. And so you can have a massive, really powerful gaming system, or whatever kind of system you want, with no other drive bays in them.
Understood. Why don't we go ahead and get a closer view of these real quick, just to kind of give you an idea of the different configurations that Thermaltake is showing.
And honestly, this isn't even like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to configurability. I mean, all these things can be, like I said, everything can be ripped out. When we go to the X1, I'll show you pretty much what happens when it's completely empty. Now, as you can see with these blue systems, these are X2s. These are made for micro ATX. And once again, you can stack them as high as you want, 2, 3, high, whatever your roof will allow. But then you have, for instance, the X1, like we'll look over here, if you look at the stacked system for you, this guy is completely emptied out, completely hollowed out, so all you see is this drive rail. Now one really cool thing was we spent a lot of time engineering and figuring out, we basically took our prototype cases, started building in them, finding all the little weird issues we didn't like, rebuilding it till we got it to the closest possible, where we look at it and go, you know what, I love building in this case, and that's the case we wanted to deliver. So basically, when you have it like this, in its base configuration with no trays, no hard drive trays or anything, even with just, all it is these rails, the front and back metal, and these rails right here, it's still just as rigid as when you have everything installed. So you don't lose any, you don't get any flexibility or anything like that when you break it down. It's literally a solid case from beginning to end.
Beautiful.
And I mean, when it comes to ITX, we say, yeah, sure. We say like CPU cooler or, VGA limit, but there really is no limit, because current cards, there's nothing long enough to take up the space this kit chassis provides.
All right, so you can take a look inside there. We do have some nice LEDs. Liquid cooling system coming through the top. So all the LCS is up on the top. And then when we come down and come towards the bottom, this is where the actual working system is. So we have a lot of cooling. We have a tremendously giant rad here. And which rad is this one, Shannon?
Well, the top one's a 360. The front one's actually a 480.
Okay. So we got a 480 rad on the front. We got a 360 up on the top. You can see all our reservoirs here, our tubing. Looks like they're running multicolored tubing on that with another res actually on this side coming down. We've got the vertical one here, the horizontal one going down the side.
Yeah, the blue one's actually a separate loop just for the CPU, where the green one is made for GPU. So this front 480 is cooling with the GPU, the top 360 is cooling the CPU.
All right, everyone. As Shannon said and showed us, they have a multitude of new cases that you could basically design yourself. They give you the core. You design it yourself, and of course, there's a ton of liquid cooling in it. Well, what does Thermaltake have to offer with that liquid cooling, with that case? Do they have things to offer you for liquid cooling? So let's take a look at that.
Well, of course, we have things for liquid cooling. We've been doing liquid cooling for a very long time, but this is the next step in our progression in liquid cooling, which is going with the real high-level enthusiast liquid cooling systems. This right here is kind of an example, a kind of quick run-through of a lot of the things we offer, like fittings, radiator, coolant, fans, a cylinder reservoir with pump, and it all comes in a kit, a 240mm base kit, which is like your entry level, because a lot of people maybe aren't so sure about what fittings to pick, and all the different components. It gets very confusing for people who are not well versed in liquid cooling. Mm-hmm. So we want to give this so they have somewhere to start. Then once they're comfortable with it, they can expand past that. So with that, let's take a look at another room where we can definitely expand this just a little bit.
All right. Going on. All right, everyone, we're in the custom cooling room. Shannon's going to go ahead and intro everything for us here. Don't worry about it. He knows what he's talking about. I have no clue. Shannon, go ahead and take over.
I truly believe that, Paul. That's why we have our radiators here from Thermaltake, and basically, like I said, we can expand well beyond that kit. We have all the way from 240, 360, 480, all the way up to 540s, which is 3 by 180 fans. So basically, anything and everything you can imagine a fit, including probably cooling a few Hondas, we can take care of that. I mean, these things are, this one right here is bigger than most motorcycles, so pretty much, and that one actually is designed around the idea, which we showed to Paul in Computex. This one's just designed around the idea, because we already knew the Core X was coming, we just couldn't say anything about it at the time. But that big boy was designed to go in the front when you stack them. So now you see what I told you, that we created a problem just so we could create a solution. There's our solution. But then when you saw liquid cooling blocks in those liquid cooled systems, you also notice we have Thermaltake blocks. Well, with that, since you can run multiple cards, we wanted the hard bridges for the water, so that whether you're running 4-way, 3-way, or 2-way, which we'll just drop that one because it's pretty solid. It's hard as Paul's head, so it will live. And with cylinder reservoirs, we have D5 pumps with dress-up kits. Then we have the D5 without dress-up. Just has our standard Thermaltake wrist stripe styling, kind of matches Tough Power Grand and other devices. So it just gives you something a little cool to match the other gear. We have a 355 base, which, you know, French from Swiftech, with a cylinder reservoir as well. Then we even have one with our Thermaltake P500 pump for, let's say, like if you just have a single CPU loop or something like that. So basically, you can select the type of pump you want, which will obviously coincide with the type of performance you're looking for, running a ton of blocks, a lot of radiator, stuff like that. And you can obviously go with very large, or you could even go with very small, or what we've nicknamed Little Paul. And then we will, then we go ahead and we have the CPU blocks here. We have Thermaltake CPU block, and of course our friends at Swiftech. We've done a lot of work with them in developing some things like this, and we took their block and we wanted to re-image it because it's a great performing block, so we wanted to definitely offer that. Now, if you don't want a cylinder reservoir with an integrated pump, we actually have it available with the dress-up kit and even a pump peel on top, so that you can have a nice high-performance pump for any build you want to do. We even had some fun. One thing we like to do is we like to play with stuff. We like to take it apart, see what we can make work. So we tore apart a Water 3.0 Extreme and actually put the pump on one of our huge radiators just to see what happened. It actually worked really well. Now, we just brought this to show it. It's not actually something we're going to necessarily sell. It was more just kind of one of those things we wanted to show you. We like to play with stuff just like most of you guys do. We like to tear it apart and figure it out and see what kind of bad stuff we can make it do, or how we can make it perform beyond what it should have been. And speaking of that, showing kind of some direction in things. We have some hard tubing here. That's another thing we see a lot of the modding direction going. So we went ahead and we are supporting this along with fittings and even our own hard tubing, so that we can have new custom build styles, and we can support anyone who wants to build the system no matter how they want it. Just like we said with the Core X series, we want to support it the way you want it to be. Now if you take a look over here, here's a good idea of a lot of the fitting breakdown of what we're going to make. You have everything from compression, fill ports, plugs, barbs, pretty much 45s, 90s, extenders, all kinds of things. Oh, we got a nice big extender here for you. I think this will work well for you. Then we've got tons of fans. We've even got one thing that was really cool is we were thinking about, cases maybe that can't fit larger things. So what we did was we did a thin 10mm fan so that basically it will fit no matter where maybe a 25mm fan couldn't. So this will give you still some good airflow, but the fitment in maybe a tighter chassis. So we wanted to cover pretty much all the bases. Now, for some, you know that not everyone wants to dock water cooling. So we have a couple air coolers here, which are normally Frio series. But we went ahead and redid them with Frio Silent by going a multi-blade silent fan, so that you have like really good performance, but you also don't have the trade-off of a lot of sound. It really reduces the audibility of it. Also, Paul, if you want to grab that guy right there, that's actually a prototype. So excuse kind of the messy appearance. This is actually an early prototype of a Frio Extreme style cooler, very extreme, that has cutouts here so that it'll fit your 2011 base and 20, even your regular X99 2011 V3. It'll fit here without memory clearance problems. And it still has a triple fan configuration, so it'll have very extreme performance. And there's one more fan I'd really like to show you. This is kind of a prototype one we have going here. We're working on this is kind of an idea of the direction we're going.
All right.
Now these are our static pressure fans. These are made for like low noise chassis fan operation, or even thicker radiators where you need to push air through.
Right.
Like if you have a tight FPI radiator, you're going to need some high static pressure to get it through there. So we went ahead and made these fans, and you'll notice it has a special type of lighting. It actually has a ring LED, so this one might show up a little better for you. But it has a circle LED, so it kind of creates, it takes away from that effect where normally you have the LEDs going each way. Some people wanted something a little different, so we wanted to create something a little different for you, so that you can create some really good airflow, really good static pressure, really good water cooling performance, or even chassis airflow. It's your option. But as you can tell, I mean, you've got 4 of them running here, and they're almost inaudible, and they're sitting right on a radiator. So normally, if you're going to hear a fan, it's going to be on something with restriction, like a radiator, and you can't hear these. And Paul, you can attest to this. You can feel some decent airflow out of these things.
Does have good static pressure. Good airflow coming through, and they are quiet. I'm standing right on top of them. And I know there might be a little bit of noise in this room, but you could barely hear them. And now you're talking about 4 of them running at one time, down onto a table, pressing air down onto the table, coming around.
And then, these are also, right now, they're actually hooked to something else I want to show you, which is a touchscreen fan controller. This is the Commander FT, and this is basically full touchscreen functionality, so you just touch it, and you can select which fan, how you want to ramp it up, what temperature you even want it to do, or whatnot. Basically, what this will do is this will actually allow you to either manually or automatically set it, because it actually has thermal probes that you can set within the range of the fan, so that it will basically adjust the fan accordingly to what the temperature is setting. Now with that, I think we have some power supply stuff we can show you.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the power supply stuff.
Well, the focus here is going to be the Platinum series. It's an 850, 1050, and 1200. These are for our Tough Power Grands, and as you can see, they are fully modular. So therefore, you don't have to have any cables you don't want to. There's no forcing you to use anything except what you need. And one really cool inclusion on these is the fact that it actually has the flat black cables.
Oh, okay.
But then if you wanted to, let's say you wanted a custom case, you wanted something, you have custom inside theme, let's say you have some blue liquid and whatnot, we have the individual received cables. Now normally you have to buy a huge massive kit that's like $100+ to get all of your cables, and then you end up not using half of them. So we're actually selling each of them individually. The highest priced one is your 24 pin, which is $18.99. If you need a SATA cable, $7.99. So you got to figure, if you look at your standard system where you're building like one graphics card and whatnot, you're spending less than $50 and you get all the cables you need.
Very good.
Now there is one more thing with power supply I'd really like to show you. We have a change in our DPS line.
Okay.
So let's go check that out. Now with the DPS-G, we also upgraded to Platinum as well. Okay. And in this system we have a Platinum 1200. And as you can see, the standard software is there. But this is actually an upgraded free V2.0 software, which means, as you can see here, CPU and VGA monitoring. So as you pull up CPU, you can see how many watts and amperage it's drawing, along with the temperature and voltage. Then as we back out, you can see also the VGA details, how many watts and amps it's currently drawing, along with the temperature on it, and even the voltage on 12-volt feeding it.
Okay.
Now another thing about this software that's really nice is that we actually included a cloud feature now, so that you can have a login account, and once you set up the login account, it will dump data about every 20 seconds. You go into your mobile device, let's say select all or whatnot, Hopefully you can see this. Okay, and then click go, and you can see remotely how your system's running, how much power it's using, what kind of load, how much it even costs. As long as you set your kilowatt hour correctly, you can see how much it costs to operate. Even your GPU, loading, power, temperature, everything can all be monitored directly from this app. And let's say you have a deployment of 50 systems. You can have all of them installed with this app on the same account, and you can go through just a list of systems and see how all of your systems are running. So this is really cool. This is our way of kind of integrating and adding more to just your standard power supply. Rather than handing you a power supply, you buy it and that's the end of it. We want to give you something that's usable long term so that you can actually monitor and actually have true control of your power.
Very good. All right, everyone. That concludes what we're seeing from Thermaltake. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Paul.
And make sure you keep on watching CES 2015. Stay thirsty. Bye-bye.